TV Campfire Podcast.
I was like, okay, so you win for the week.
We're here.
I hate to sound like a broken record.
Oh no! We're fans.
It's one of the best things on television.
Oh! Alright, we got you a whole different level.
No, you didn't.
We talk TV.
That was the best scene ever. Like, that blew me away.
It was absolutely amazing. I just couldn't believe it.
Welcome to the show.
This is podcast number 607, and I'm Livia, your host. And this week we have returning guests.
Hi, this is Yusun, costume designer and TV enthusiast from Los Angeles.
Hi, this is Allison, and I write reviews for 6 Degrees of Geek.
And this is Tom. I chair the Department of Visual and Media Arts at Palm Beach Atlantic University in Florida and host the Screen Tom podcast on Spotify and iTunes.
All right, Tom, hit us with the news. What you got?
I have the news. ABC has announced that Jason George is going back to Grey's Anatomy as a series regular since Station 19 has been canceled. Rob Thomas was supposed to be the showrunner of Caitlin Olsen's new show High Potential, but he is leaving that because of creative differences. AMC has greenlit the third Anne Rice Immortal Universe series. This one will be about the Talamasca, which I just asked Allison off podcast in our text thread about that a couple weeks ago. Amazon has announced that Jensen Ackles will lead the action thriller Countdown from One Chicago alum Derek Haas. The upcoming biblical drama House of David has cast Broadway star Michael Iskander as David, Ali Silliman as King Saul, Stephen Lang from the Avatar movies as Samuel, and Ayelet Zur from Man of Steel and Daredevil as Queen Ahinoam. They also announced that The Boys Season 5 will be its final one, but Gen V Season 2 has added Hamish Linklater to the cast as Cypher, the newly appointed dean of Godolphin University. Apple TV Plus picked up Palm Royale for Season 2. Marion Cotillard will join the morning show for Season 4. However, Juliana Margulies is not returning. CBS announced that Rochelle Aites is leaving SWAT Season 8 for the medical drama Watson. She's going to play Morris Chestnut's title character's ex-wife, Mary, although SWAT does hope to have her recur as Hondo, Shamar Moore's wife, in that season. And Blue Bloods, which is ending with the second half of Season 14 in the fall, they're talking about doing a spin-off / continuation series. Bet you won't have Tom Selleck in it because he's the most expensive of that cast. CW has renewed All-American for Season 7 and The Chosen for Season 4. However, they canceled All-American Homecoming after 3 seasons. Reminder, it was previously picked up. So this is part of that new Next Star regime. Disney Plus, despite all the fan toxicity, Acolyte reached 11.1 million views in 5 days, nearly 3 million short of Ahsoka. I remind people Ahsoka was based on existing characters. This is all new people. Fox announced Sierra McLean is leaving 911 Lone Star after 4 seasons, and there are rumors swirling that Season 5 will be its last, which makes sense since the mothership show jumped networks to ABC. HBO picked up House of the Dragon for Season 3. Hulu announced that Grace Van Patten, formerly of 8 Perfect Strangers, will play Amanda Knox in Hulu's upcoming Knox-produced limited series after Margaret Qualley left the show. Max picked up My Adventures with Superman for Season 3, and they're also developing a Blue Beetle animated series, which will be part of the official DCU under James Gunn, and they're negotiating to get the cast to reprise their voices. Max also raised their prices for the regular ad-free tier to $17 and the ultimate ad-free to $21.
What's the difference?
I guess the ultimate means no ads, and the other has light ads. I just think it's crazy. They also
They're nickel and diming everyone is basically
they're nickel and diming everybody. Netflix announced that Arcane will end with Season 2, but there are other League of Legends stories to tell. The Upshaws will end with Season 5. Mia McKenna Bruce from How to Have Sex will lead the Agatha Christie series The Seven Dials Mystery with Helena Bonham Carter and Martin Freeman. And that's from Chris Chibnall, who created Broadchurch and also ran the Jodie Whittaker seasons of Doctor Who Into the Ground. Excuse me. Yahya Abdul-Mateen. I love her, but he didn't figure out how to write the show. and she gets the blame. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II is in to play the Denzel Washington character John Creasy in the upcoming Man on Fire series adaptation, which is basically Equalizer with more blood and violence. Coleman Domingo, Oscar nominee, and Erica Henningsen from Broadway's Mean Girl are joining Tina Fey and Steve Carell in their 4 seasons adaptation. Cillian Murphy will star in and produce the Peaky Blinders film, directed by Tom Harper and written by series creator Stephen Knight. And Tyler Perry will write and direct Straw, a drama with Taraji P. Henson, Sherry Shepherd, and Tiana Taylor. Paramount Plus has picked up Criminal Minds Evolution for season 3, before season 2 premiered. Paul Giamatti has been cast in Starfleet Academy season 1 as the recurring villain, who has a link to one of the cadets' pasts.
Huh.
Dan Butler, Bulldog, and Edward Hibbert, Gil Chesterton from classic Frasier, will reprise their roles on Frasier season 2, and Yvette Nicole Brown will play the sister of Frasier's boss, Olivia. And if you've watched the show, the two sisters are both academics and highly competitive. Aiden Ayeri, who from I Love That For You, who has joined the upcoming Peacock comedy series from Steph Curry and Adam Pally. And finally, Starz has announced that Power Book 4 will end after 3 seasons, but they have future plans for the character Tommy.
Wow, a lot of news.
That is a lot of news. All right, let's start talking about the shows. First up, we're going to talk about Interview with a Vampire, episodes 4 and 5. And I'm trying to remember. I remember which 5 because that's the big flashback episode.
4, if Claudia enjoyed playing this baby doll character as much I suspected she would. As in, not at all.
And I like that she tried to get a friend, though friend is a stretch. I'm not sure where that friendship was going exactly.
Yeah, I didn't know she was going to bite her, or she was going to try to sleep with her, or what, but...
I know, it was...
But the vampires put the kibosh on that when they found out.
No, but I think what's interesting about that relationship is I think Claudia didn't know what she wanted. Like, she knew she wanted something for herself, and she thought that they were developing a relationship in an interesting way. But I don't even think she knew where that relationship was going. But I think she wanted to find out. And honestly, so did I. And then they basically were like, no human friends for you. And your punishment is you have to wear this goofy dress all the time. Like, okay.
And the thing
Which seems kind of counterintuitive because I mean that she's going to get it messy and they're going to have to fix it and replace it for the show, and it's like, I mean, that made no sense to me. But from a purely practical standpoint, it's like, you can't do that with something you're going to wear on stage. But whatever. I was interested in this particular relationship that she had going because they're doing a variation on what was done in the book, where Claudia finds a woman who has lost her child and she's able to act like a surrogate mother to this very young Claudia. And they have this bonding between the two of them. And with this, obviously, that she doesn't need that sort of things, but they're trying to bring in the same character, Madeline, and do something else with her. And so I was really interested to see how they're going to work this relationship in and what the dynamics of this relationship are going to be. I think that they haven't finished with her. I'm certain they're going to bring her back and do more with her character. And I am really fascinated to see where they go with this.
The actor who played the friend looks a lot like one of my students. So I was like, oh, wow, Rebecca's got a twin. So, period ginger versus contemporary ginger. I like this actor who plays Claudia so much better than the last one because I care for her. And she can play a range of emotions instead of Janie One Note.
Yeah, well, I don't want to keep beating up on the original actress because I've seen her in other things in which she's fine. She's in Avatar and she does a good job in that. But I don't think that she was really quite right for this role. And now that they've replaced her with this actress, I think this actress is right for Claudia. And I think what she brings to the role is more interesting. But I don't want to keep beating up on the original Claudia because you know, it's not her responsibility that she was maybe not the ideal person for the part. She is talented. She does other things well. So yeah, I don't want to keep going back and forth with the comparison with her. I really do like this woman this year.
Before we get to the flashback episode, just say I want more Ben Daniels. He's so good at everything. He plays charm. He plays malevolence.
And then that scene for dinner when he was like mocking him and like repeating the words with him. That was so just like there was something dangerous about it, but there was the level of mock of it like was here. Like
I'm kind of not digging Armand in either time period. He's like a git. He's a pretentious git in the past and a pretentious git in the 70s flashback.
Oh, you mean Armand?
Yeah, he's kind of. Yeah.
I didn't think Armand was that bad until the flashback. Once I got to the flashback, I was like, oh, this dude. Yeah, no.
Well, they've been dropping breadcrumbs that, I mean, he's not to be trusted. Right from the very beginning, he's this figure that, you know, I mean, there was something about when Louis takes his hand in the first season and says, "This is the love of my life," that you're looking at it and going, "Is he really?"
I'm just wondering, is Louis under Armand's thrall?
Yeah,
I think it's pretty obvious that there's more than just, you know, the augmented memories going on. This augmented feelings as well.
Right, because there's a part where they're arguing. They leave the room, and then when they come back, they're all lovey-dovey. It's like a weird. You're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And what just happened was Armand did the mind control Jedi mind trick on him, and Louis was like, "Oh, he's the love of my life." So Yusin, your thoughts? You haven't talked.
Yeah, you know, I'm enjoying the series, but I'm missing Lestat. You know, I'm enjoying Armand more. I'd mentioned I was questionable on him, and clearly this season is going to be about Armand and Louis. So I mean, it's kind of pointless to miss Lestat, but I still do. So there's a dangerousness that's lacking in Armand for me. Like he's supposed
to, with the mind control, even though
even with the mind control, like I don't know if it's the acting or I didn't personally feel that threatened. Like for Louis, I don't feel that from Armand. I don't know if it's the acting or the writing,
well,
but
he's not supposed. That is Armand's thing. Is he comes off as non-threatening, and you're actually in control, and I'm not really in control. I'm just doing what you want me to do. And he's not supposed to be dangerous. That's his whole thing, is that you're supposed to underestimate him. You're supposed to think he's not a dangerous guy. And the big reveal in the flashback episode, which we're kind of like leaning into, is that now you can't trust anything you know about him at all. And you can't even trust your own mind. And that's actually scarier than any dangerous person that there is.
Well, I know, but I don't feel it, is what I'm saying. Like I was confused in the flashback episode. I kind of had to to watch it twice and kind of be like, wait, what's going on? And like, I don't know, maybe it was just a little too subtle for me, or I just wasn't paying attention. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it was very scary. It was when they do the big reveal, it actually makes you go back and think about every interaction that we've seen so far and realize they weren't what we thought. That's one of those reveals.
It's very sinister.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sinister.
Yeah, it's supposed to be sinister, but to me, Armand isn't sinister enough.
He's not supposed to be. That's the thing. That is the joke. That is exactly correct. He is playing the character exactly the way he's supposed to. You're not supposed to be afraid of him. You're not supposed to think he's dangerous.
No, but when the reveal happens, I should be like, oh, like I get it. Like, he's so innocent.
With the acting, I feel like that's if you didn't respond correctly, that doesn't feel like let's just keep moving on.
Yeah, I mean, this is my impression of it. It was less impactful for me because I just didn't, I don't know how to describe it, but I was a little bit bored. I didn't feel I didn't feel that like it was such a crazy reveal that was like so. I don't know. I'm enjoying this season, but not as much as I think if it wasn't for the new
Claudia.
the Claudia, I would definitely not be enjoying this season as much. I feel like she's the strongest part of the season for me. And so I'm enjoying her acting and her storyline most out of everything. For me, that's just how I'm feeling right now.
Allison, you were about to say something before we move on?
Well, I was going to say that I don't think that this was meant to be some like surprise reveal, like, oh my God, is that what's happening? I think that this was supposed to be, like I said, they've been dropping breadcrumbs all the way through this. So I think that this is like the culmination of all of these things being put together. So when you see what it is specifically that he's doing to Louis, which is not only altering his memories, but also gatekeeping on what and who he communicates with. The whole thing later on, I'm going to segue into the next episode where he's burnt and he's terribly wounded, and he's lying there helpless, and Armand acts as a psychic communication between Lestat and Louis. And he's very careful about what it is he will say to Louis that Lestat is telling him, specifically when Lestat is saying, tell him I love him. And
yes.
he absolutely does not.
Well, Armand is, I mean, all these dysfunctional vampire romances. He's a bad boyfriend.
Well,
yes.
the thing
he
is,
gets jealous. He gets jealous of Malloy.
That's the biggest thing about Armand. He's insecure in his relationship with Louis. He believes that Louis loves Lestat more than him, which is true.
Which is true.
It's probably true. And instead of like a normal person breaking up with Louis and being like, I deserve better than a boyfriend who loves this other dude more than me, he's forcing it. And
he's controlling him, which is a really sinister form of gaslighting.
Yes.
Basically.
Well, the thing is, I think it goes back to he showed what his roots were. He was a slave, and he was kept as a slave for a long time, even by the one who turned him and supposedly loved him, kept him in slavery for a long time, and really messed with his head. I mean, we see when he takes over the coven, he's got all these weird ideas about rules and laws, and they have to live in the sewer, and instead of trying to actually have a livable life. So it's like this notion of punishment that he's got in his head, and I think that in his head, that's the dynamic of any relationship: is there has to be someone who's in control and someone who's basically a slave. And if he is not going to be the slave, he has to be the master. And he has to be in control, and he has to dominate, even if it's pretending that he's not in the dominant position.
Yeah, he's pretending. He's letting Louis think that he's the dominant one, but
right,
that's
exactly.
not what's happening.
But he's controlling, and he can't have a normal relationship of two equals. This is the only thing that he's learned, and so this is how he operates. This is how he functions.
Yeah. So I think real quick, I want to talk about the flashback with the reporter from the 70s and
Malloy.
What is his David? Is it Malloy?
Malloy.
I love that moment where he was like, so did we have sex? Like, I love that moment where he's trying to remember and he's like, so I remember taking the drugs and then the bite, and then what happened after is like, did we have a thing? And I like that Lou was like, yeah, no, we did not. And he was like kind of disappointed. I thought that was really pretty funny. But I do actually really like their relationship. I like Malloy and Louis' relationship, that there's something about Malloy that draws Louis to him, that makes him want to talk to him. And
he's not freaking Armand.
Well, yeah, he's not Armand. And Armand, of course, can't stand it and can't figure out, why would you want to talk to this regular human guy more than me? I'm more interesting. Obviously not. And but I have to say, that conversation where he was just brutal to him, he was like, you're the most boring person I've talked to in a decade or something. I was like, oh my God. Like that was pretty cruel. But I felt like he was being honest. That was one of those moments where you're drunk and you say the absolute truth. And
Vino Veritas.
yeah. And Armand couldn't handle it. And I was like, that is the point where a normal person would just be like, all right, we're done. We walk away.
That's not how Armand rolls, though.
That's right.
No, that is not. But yeah, I thought the flashback parts were really good with Malloy, and I liked the two of them working out what happened. So that was pretty cool. All right, well, let's move on. I think we're mostly saying thumbs up ish.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was one of my favorites. The flashback I thought was really great. Only my disappointment is now we're gonna go back to the present, or the part with Claudia at the which I like Claudia, but I kind of want to know more about this other thing too. They've introduced this other storyline that I now want resolved.
Well, I don't think they're going to let go of it. It's just,
Yeah,
but we are
I
going to
think
go back to Claudia.
Yeah, we're gonna go back to
Question.
that. Go ahead.
Was Malloy, present Malloy, lying about the reconstruction of the audio file? Was that part of the thing that the Talamasca guy?
The Talamasca
Okay,
got
so
him
it was.
those.
So he was lying about the research assistant, and it looked
Right.
like Louis might have suspected he was not telling the truth.
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly, but he wouldn't know. He wouldn't be like, "Oh, it's CIA." Like, I don't think he would have jumped to
yeah,
that.
and you have to understand too that they're bringing in stuff from the Mayfair Witches book, because the Talamasca, they were not in Interview in the Vampire at all, and they only are peripherally and just kind of mentioned in most of the other vampire books. They don't play a big part. They're bringing them in because it is a shared universe. So I'm interested to see where they go with that.
All right, well, let's wrap that up. Let's move on. Next up, we're going to talk about Star Wars Acolyte. And I blame Peter for this because he spoiled me for the whole twin thing before I started watching the show.
Peter should know better.
He said he said he saw a review and he was like, oh, and that they're twins and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, it's probably not that big of a deal. And I was like, why are you telling me this? And then when I watched it, I was like, son of a, because that
was a big
really
deal.
made that story very different for me, experiencing it, not knowing that they were twins. But going in, knowing that they're twins totally changed my viewing experience. And I'm kind of 50 lashes with a wet noodle.
They do let you know about halfway through the first episode.
You do, but it was cool. It would have been cool not knowing, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because
I don't know, because I did not know, and I found it confusing. It's like when they went to the other sister on board the ship, I was like, is this a flashback? Is this like her hair shorter? And it's like,
I thought,
cool. And so I was just, but it didn't seem like cool to me when they finally said, oh yeah, you got a sister. It was like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. I'm not confused, but it wasn't like, ooh, neat. It was just, okay, that was confusing. Now it's not.
I thought it was gutsy of them to promote the out of Carrie Lynn Moss and then kill her in the first 5 minutes.
Before the credits, before the credits,
before the title card. Before the title card. I thought that was very ballsy, although obviously we get her in flashback.
I was about to say she's in episode 3, and I'm sure she
doesn't do a lot in it, but yes, she is there.
Yeah.
I think the show is fine. It hasn't blown me away yet, but the amount of vitriol, really, it's like,
let's not talk. I want to just do our review. Let's do it. I don't want to care about other people. What did you think?
I like Amanda Stenberg. I think she's good. Now I like her. I mean, as the bad twin, as the evil twin, she seems more Janie One Note, but as the good twin, she seems more conflicted about what's going on.
Well, I think so far we're mostly getting her point of view, and I feel like there's going to be an episode coming up where we're going to get May's point of view, because the flashback episode is 100% Osha's point of view. And everything that we've seen so far has been Osha's point of view, other than we've seen some of May's actions, but we don't understand her reasoning behind her actions. And I really feel like we're going to get an episode soon where we're going to find out why she hates these Jedi, why she get her reasoning behind it.
Well, I think we did already in the flashback. I mean, I personally got some of her ideas about what's going on. In fact, for the first time, I sympathized a little bit with her character because she's been raised in this coven. They seem like a benign group of people. They
Right.
don't seem evil in the slightest. And, they just want to practice what they're doing on this little planet that, was out of the
And they're
way.
on that planet hiding from the Jedi specifically.
Right, because the Jedi don't tolerate other groups.
Right.
And we know also from the other Star Wars movies that take place later on that when you say, witch about someone practicing the Force, this is a pejorative. This is not just a benign coven. This is something that is regarded as evil. So it's clearly demonized later on. And yet this little group doesn't seem to be bothering anybody. And the Jedi won't tolerate them, won't put up with them, and want to steal their children away from them. And we've got these two twins, one of whom isn't really interested in growing up to be a witch and being stuck on this planet. She wants to see the galaxy. And then the other one, May, is devoted to the coven, has, been raised in this lore, looks forward to becoming a witch, and wants to remain here. She doesn't want to go off with the Jedi. So I think, setting things on fire is maybe a little extreme a way of getting out of this, but
I don't think she
do
killed.
understand.
I think she did set her sister's room on fire, but all those other witches did not die.
Yeah, I think that there's something else
Yeah.
because especially because we have the other Jedi later on saying, I was expecting you, and I was, he took the poison willingly. So there's something going on there. There's scenes. When I was watching it, I was thinking, there's a big scene that we haven't seen in the middle
Right,
of
because
this.
that's why I said this is all May's point of view. We saw what she thinks happened.
Right. But I think even so, I still felt sympathy toward May as the, so-called evil sister. It's like, oh, this makes some kind
Actually,
of sense.
it made me annoyed with Osha. Like, I get that Osha wants to see the galaxy, but she was endangering everyone
Exactly.
with her behavior. And then when there's that moment where her mom was like, if you go with the Jedi, you will never see me again ever. And she's crying about it, but she was like, okay, I guess I just never see you
cool.
again. And I was just like, really? Like, I can't even imagine being like 10 years old and being cool with never seeing my mother again.
Yeah, yeah.
And it wasn't like her mom was evil or
No.
anything. No. And I was just like, and then you think about the Jedi, when they take the children, they never allow them to see their family, like ever.
Mhm.
And that's insane. And
Yeah, that's
nobody's
crazy
pointing this
cult
out to them.
territory.
Like, this
Yeah.
is not a good thing, guys. Like, what?
What's interesting is these 3 episodes have very succinctly kind of reframed what we know about the Jedi, because
Right.
they're
Yeah.
against the whole time that the Jedi were not perfect. I mean, they basically invite Palpatine, give him, the ability to go from Chancellor to Emperor almost on a silver platter. But this is showing that there were problems with the Jedi, their practices, their sect, their prejudices, etc.
I think that there have been like indications of this in when you get away from the main story from the movies and you get into the TV shows and the animated programs, because I remember that there was this there was a couple of animated sequences that they did when they invite other animators to do
Right.
stories within this universe, and one of them in particular was very much about how the Jedi actively hunt down Force-sensitive children and force them to become Jedi, whether they want to or not.
Mhm.
And there were there was a brother and sister who were hiding out from them deliberately because they did not want to be part of this. And so they've been indicating for a long time, at least along the fringes of the Star Wars universe, that yeah, the Jedi are maybe not as great as we have been led to believe. There are flaws there, there are cracks there, there are things that are dubious morally
And then
and ethically.
they call them monks because they're not also supposed to have kids. Yet Anakin 100% went ahead and had twins.
But he wasn't supposed to.
I know he wasn't supposed to. And the fact that, okay, so they take these kids when they want to take them when they're around 3 or 4. Like, that's when they want to grab them. and then they inundate them with all these rules and these beliefs and stuff like that, and then they say, and then you can never have children. Like, that's insane. How has nobody thought that this is insane?
Yeah.
So, and I think in the first Star Wars movies, they call them a wacky religion occasionally, and they call them
Oh, in episode 4, crazy old wizard.
yeah, they've called them stuff like that, but it wasn't.
Well, it didn't really
clear.
stick because at that point, remember, the Empire is in charge, so of course
And there
they're
are
trying to.
there's no Jedi Council
And
anymore.
Right.
Obi-Wan's the first one we meet, and then Luke becomes one.
Yeah, but he doesn't get inundated with all the rules and all the things and da. So we don't really understand what the Jedi were like before until we get to really the prequels, and then the prequels don't really explain it very well either. It's not until you get until the animated series, because I remember Obi-Wan fell in love with somebody on Mandalore, and he was freaking out that he fell in love with her because he could never be with her because rules, and he tried to avoid her and stuff. And I was like, wait, why can he not be with? Like, I remember being confused about like why. Anyway, we're getting off track. I just realized this is not a Star Wars
Well,
podcast.
maybe not, because I'm kind of hoping that this series eventually, I think that, they've shown some indication that that's the direction they're going in. And I hope they explore that more, because that is philosophically an interesting thing to do.
And it's so refreshing to not be in a Skywalker adjacent time frame.
Oh, God.
That's true too. We're what,
It's
a
nice.
couple hundred years before?
We're in the High Republic. This is toward the end of the High Republic.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
So
like,
it's
I'm trying to
100
get-
years prior.
Yeah. So it's at the high, but it's also at the beginning of their decline.
Yeah. And
So-
apparently, Rise of the
I want to talk about Carrie Ann Moss and how
Yeah.
she makes a fantastic Jedi, and that fight scene was amazing.
It was
I
really
loved it.
good. It
Great
was really
fight
good.
I thought it was great. And I was so disappointed when she died. And yes, we may get her in flashbacks and however, but I mean, I was so psyched when they started the show like that, and the fight scene. And I thought, oh man, this is it. This is great. This is what I signed up for. And she's dead. And I thought,
I suspected that when I saw the trailer. I did suspect she wasn't going to make it out of the opening.
Really?
really?
Yeah, because every time they showed the trailer, it was always in the same place. She was never in another scene. All the footage that they showed her was in the same bar. And I was like, oh no, she's going to die in that bar.
Right. Well, I was not
Looking like
happy
a true
about it.
editor.
I was very surprised. So the other thing I wanted to talk about though was Saul being a Jedi. I'm as an Asian American, as a Korean American, I'm very psyched that we have a Korean Jedi. But I'm not sure if I'm sold on his performance. I haven't decided. Like, I like it, but the one thing I find that I was interested in is he doesn't move like a Jedi for me. Like when he's like walking, you know what I mean? Like through his scenes and stuff, I found it to be very sort of like dopey 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 doo. And I thought, like that he's not moving like a Jedi for me. So I was a little disappointed in that.
Honestly, I think he's struggling with his English because he does not speak fluent English.
No.
Yeah.
No. He was in case you saw Squid Game, he was the star of Squid Game.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Played a very, very different character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen him in interviews, and he does not speak English well enough to do the interviews. So if his English is not that great, then I'm thinking he's spending all his brain power phonetically articulating English, and and he's doing, I think, in his earnestness, I buy it, but I also think he's lying. Like there's an earnestness where he feels like he needs to protect Osha, like really, but I feel like the motivation behind that need to protect her is based on guilt.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot of stuff going on, and he's conveying all of that. So I think he's conveying the emotional realism of his character in a really good way. I haven't seen him use a lightsaber yet, so that's going to be the test. Like, let's see what he can do with a lightsaber.
That's my worry, because I was already like, well, he just walking across the floor, and I don't feel the Jedi coming from him. So I'm worried about him wielding the lightsaber. So, as proud as and happy as I am, I'm really hoping he like steps up and that, that I enjoy it. So we'll see. But other than that, I mean, I'm thinking the series, it's not like the best series ever, but it's not boring. It's not like, it's not
I'm interested. I'm intrigued.
yeah,
I'm in.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
So,
and for
I'm
me, it's
enjoying
kind of
it.
in the middle. It's kind of it's not like at the depths of things like Boba Fett or
Oh my
Obi-Wan,
God.
things like that. But it's not at the heights of
Andor.
yeah, oh,
Andor.
absolutely not Andor.
I
It's somewhere in the middle, and I'm enjoying it. It's entertaining me. I'm not bowled over by it, but it's fun to watch.
I like it's a murder mystery. I want to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
I gotta say, when the Trade Federation ship with Oceana gets the traffic stop basically by the Jedi, it's like it really gives you a feel. Oh, these guys again. Jeez.
All right, well let's wrap this one up. I think overall thumbs up, but
Sure.
waiting to see, where it's going. Next up, we're gonna talk Dark Matter, and we're late to the game, and that's 100% my fault because I was
Jacques
late.
Hughes.
I know I was late jumping on the Dark Matter train. I was resistant because I saw the trailer and I was like, another multiverse? Really? I don't want to do another multiverse.
It's got source material.
It doesn't matter. I'm just so over the multiverse, and I was just like, okay. And I didn't jump on until everybody else was like, no, it's so good. You got to watch it. I was
It
like,
is good.
fine. And the first episode's hard though, man. That first episode was
It does take its time to get started.
it really takes its time, and it's like I was like, dude, you're in a multiverse. You've been kidnapped by yourself. How do you not recognize your own voice? Like I was just getting kind of irritated by the first episode. But people kept telling me you got to get past the first one. So I was like, fine. So it wasn't until the second episode, and by the way, the alternate version of himself that like takes over his life, super jerk. Can't stand that dude. And he
Not
just
just a jerk.
yeah,
I don't want to spoil stuff, but
don't spoil stuff. I've only seen 2 episodes. So, I just was like, yeah. And then somebody pointed out to me, was like, oh, he's not the hero. And I was like, yeah, I know he's not the hero, but he's still kind of the same guy. So I thought that fundamentally that no, but yes, it's the multiverse. He is his twin. So, but I like the journey of the good guy trying to figure out what's going on. It just took him longer than I would have liked. And though I did like that he just didn't trust anybody. He was like, yep, nope, I'm getting out of here. And so that part was good. And I have to say that when the second episode ends with the security person from the company just showing up talking about, yeah, we got to take you back. I just thought they were just going to grab him and take him back. And nope, she shoots the other woman in the head. And I was like, what? So I had to use a lot of self-control to keep myself from watching the next episode. So I understand how you guys flew through all of these really fast. Like I get it, but I was like, no, for the podcast, I shall stay true. But now that's probably exactly what I'm going to watch as soon as we're done with this podcast. So now I'm like, yes, watch the next couple episodes.
watch 3 and 4.
What'd you say?
Watch 3 and 4. It gets better.
I'm sure it does, because now it's like, oh, this company is evil. I was like, oh, we're shooting people in the head. All right, okay. So I don't know entirely what's happening other than from my guess, and don't confirm it, guys, because I know you guys are all ahead. From my guess, it looks like the evil one, instead of marrying his wife,
Jason A and Jason B.
Which one is A and which one's B?
A is Prime. A is the
Prime.
one we root for.
The one that's married to Jennifer Connelly and has a kid.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's A. Okay, so B basically made this company. He figured out how to switch multiverses. He figured out the technology. Him and a team went out in an experiment to do it. Something happened. We don't know what. At least I don't yet. And he's like, you know what? I see the potential of this. I can take over my old life. let me stalk myself for a while. But the company, I'm not entirely sure what the purpose of the experiment was from the onset, if they're willing to kill people to keep this a secret. So all of these things are a mystery, and it all seems really interesting. So yeah, and then the cover art suggests lots of versions. So I can't wait for that to happen. So I'm in, and I think it's good. And please don't give me spoilers. All right.
I just
got?
gotta say,
I'll speak because I can't give you spoilers. I also stopped watching on purpose. I mean, I only watched one other extra episode, and I was going to keep going, but then I thought, the way that I was told that it was so good and the way that it was, so very bingeable, I thought I've got to stop now or else I won't stop at all. So I'm not too far ahead of you, Libya. But interestingly, I had the opposite experience. I thought episode 1, I was very invested in episode 1, and I was very like intrigued by it, and I thought, oh, this is great. And then episode 2 actually kind of slowed down for me and got me annoyed, I think, in the way that you were mentioning about how, like, how can you not guess that this is a multiverse, and how can you not figure this out for yourself? So it was a little annoying. But I'm really enjoying the first 2 episodes. I'm really enjoying his relationship with his wife. I you know what I mean? It's lovely. It's healthy, it's beautiful, it's sweet. I mean, I'm so used to seeing you know, uh unhealthy relationships and kind of, people going through all this strife and this and that, and it's just kind of yummy and lovely to like see a relationship that, 2 people in love raising a kid and this and that. And so, I mean, obviously they're focusing on that to show you why Jason B wants that life. I mean, they have to show it so that it's really believable that he's going to do all this stuff to have that life and to make it, worthwhile. So yeah, so as far as I'm concerned, I'm sold too, and I'm very excited. I did actually I was not able to resist the head through the shot through the head, because once she got shot, I thought, oh my God, what happens now? And so I hit play. So I did watch episode 3, but I obviously won't talk about it. But yeah, no, I'm excited about the show. I think multiverse or not, it's shot a little weird though. Is it me? But it definitely seems like it's shot in Vancouver or Canada or someplace like not where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, they did not shoot it in Chicago.
Yeah, I was gonna say it does not feel legitimately
There's
like Chicago, and
matte painting, and then they go elsewhere.
There were a couple of scenes that were in Chicago because Peter's from Chicago, and he was like, "Oh, that's down the street from my friend's house." So they did shoot some stuff on location.
they did. Yeah, so I don't know. As I keep watching the show, that's the only thing. It seems a little not expensive. It's not cheap. It doesn't look cheap, but it just doesn't look like as high
saved
quality.
money on the production value, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
That I noticed. Other than that, I'm enjoying the show.
Guys, Tom, Allison, really quick, because we need to keep rolling. We need to keep moving.
I love it. And Joel Edgerton Jason A and B are so completely different from each other, and yet have those similarities. That's all I can say.
Yeah, no, I do like the way he defines between the two. I'm never lost saying which Jason am I watching. I always know, okay, that's Jason A, that's Jason B. And they do a great job of defining it. And I do like also the characters, the supporting players. They've got a great cast. Jimmy Simpson is fantastic in this. I mean, I love seeing him in almost anything, but he's really, really fun in this. And he's fun, playing the different versions of himself, which are surprising. And the same thing with oh my God,
Jennifer Connelly.
Jennifer Connelly, thank you. She has fun with it too, playing variations on her character. And you do believe very much that, even though he doesn't have a perfect life, because his career never went the way it was supposed to and all that. But nevertheless, he's very happy with his
Yeah.
life the way it is. He loves his wife, he loves his child. He's content being where he is. He has friends that he cares about. He's well liked in the neighborhood, just all of these things. So you figure there's got to be an emptiness in Jason B. There's
Right,
this
obviously.
hole in his life that would make him do this.
Right.
And so trying to find that out and find out the specifics of that is fascinating. So I really like the show from the beginning. I understand it's not getting great reviews, and I'm not sure why. Maybe it's not as wildly
Edgy.
different and exciting or edgy as people would like, but I think it's just a really solid story with really compelling characters.
All right, well, let's move on. I think we're all saying, yeah, let's give it a shot if you haven't so far.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Next up, we're going to talk about The Boys, but we're only going to talk about the first two. And we'll do 2 or 3 next time. So the first 2 episodes of The Boys get you back in. I was expecting to give us a previously from Gen V, because Gen V, the end of Gen V, has both Homelander and what's his name?
A-Train?
Butcher.
Oh, Butcher?
Yeah, Butcher, and in the finale of Gen V, Butcher and Homelander are in the episode. And something big happens at the end of that. And I thought in the previously they would like give you that information, but they don't. They actually kind of just mention it in the dialogue. They're like, "Oh, thank you for saving me from that massacre." But if you don't know what massacre she's talking about, it seems odd. You know what I mean? And then Butcher talks about this virus. He's like, "Oh, I know you have the virus." And we, as viewer, if you watch Gen V, you know what virus she's talking about. But if you don't, then you don't know what virus she's talking about. So it's such a weird thing. Like, did you guys all watch Gen V or no?
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
I didn't.
Did you understand about the virus and about the massacre?
I figured that it happened sometime, so whatever.
So you just kind of blew it off like it wasn't.
Just rolled with it.
So what do you think the virus is?
That they're trying to find a way to kill either Homelander or what's her face.
The virus kills anyone who is a soup. So it attacks anybody who's a soup, but it leaves regular humans alone.
The normals around.
Yep. And that's in Gen V, they were working on that virus pretty much the whole season. And then at the end, but the big deal is at the very end, what's her name?
Soldier
the one
Boy.
that can explode people's heads. She
Oh.
got a copy of the virus, but Butcher found out about the virus. So
The vice presidential candidate.
yeah, she the exploding head chick. I didn't know she was invulnerable. I knew she could explode people's heads, but I didn't know that you couldn't hurt her.
That's the first time that they actually did that. That I was like, really?
Yeah,
Because that was a new
remember
that
that
was
at
a new
all.
reference.
Though what she turned her daughter into was crazy.
That was nuts.
Oh my, I mean, I know you can't control, like once you give them the shot, you can't control what their power is, but whoa, she turned her daughter into a tentacle face-eating monster. Like, ooh, that was nasty.
I mean, just the fact that she could do that to her daughter in the first place, because you don't know what that thing is going to do. I mean, it could give them a superpower that's really great, or it could make them, it could ruin their life and make it impossible for them to even be in public.
Right.
There's just no way of knowing, or it could kill them outright. So it really gives you an idea of how ruthless she is, that she's willing to go there.
That is crazy. Like, she's not a good mom.
Well,
I don't think
I just-
anybody in this show qualifies as either a mom or a dad or a son or a daughter of the year. It's
Not really.
it's not that kind of show.
No.
Huey's almost the closest to being kind of a normal, kind of good person.
Oh, but I loved
So-
his conversation with his mom. That was
Oh
the
my gosh.
that was the second episode, because
Yeah.
she's like, "I promise," and he freaked out about the "I promise," and you don't know why he's freaking out about it. Like, he's talking to himself and he's doing all this, and you're just like, "What is going on?" And so when he finally gives you the explanation of what the I promise meant to him, you're just like, whoa. The fact that the mom dared to show up at this hospital, like what? Like that's
Well, the thing is, the mom off camera, the mom and the dad had rekindled some kind of,
I get it,
truce
but she hasn't.
already.
But why would you do that with the husband and not talk to your son at all? Like that's the thing that's crazy. And then just show
Because she had a right to be afraid of how he would react, which was validated by how he reacted.
Yes.
I was surprised how prescient some of the events in these first 2 episodes was compared to where we are in real life. And yes,
with
they
the
knew
trials and stuff.
They knew that there were certain parallels, but then the jury verdict thing, which like, oh my gosh, it's like, whoa. And I think one of the most sinister characters on the show, and just introduced in this season, is Sister Sage,
Oh
the
yeah.
world's smartest woman, because again, she's like analyzing everything and saying, this is what you got to do.
And smartest doesn't necessarily mean most moral.
Oh
no. But what's interesting to me is she's smart enough, because at first you're thinking, why is she helping him? Why is she helping him? Like, and she is helping him to a degree, but I also think she's playing against him. Because there's no way that she doesn't know that at some point his ego is going to force him to kill her. So, I mean, I'm not the smartest person in the world, and I can see it. You know what I mean?
Well, just like A-Train said, if she was so smart, she should have learned how to keep her blank mouth shut.
Right.
Before she got kicked out of that junior group. No, it's I'm still ambivalent about watch. I just feel so dirty after watching this show, between the sex and the violence and the violence and the sex. It's like, at least there was nothing that made me want to pressure wash my eyeballs like that.
I mean, Splinter Cell guy.
Oh,
kind of gross.
Oh,
I have to say that was. And what's funny is that guy's from Supernatural, and he played God.
Yes, that is Chuck. That is Chuck / God.
Yes,
and I will never be able to watch the scenes the same again.
He played God for like 3 or 4 seasons of Supernatural, and I'm just like, so Kripke, who knows this, cast this dude as God, has now cast him in his new show as this really creepy, just character. And I was like, that was very deliberate. I see what you did, Kripke.
He does look very different. When I was looking at him, I was thinking, I've seen him in something. I just can't place where.
Are you sure that's the same dude?
It's the same, because I read an article that said that actually, and even when I was looking at the 2 pictures together, I was like, really? It's definitely him. It's just, he looks radically different. And who knew he was so free with showing off his attributes. Wow. Okay. But yeah, that was a lot.
That was a lot. But I mean, other than that, the story itself, where they're going with the story, I think is really interesting. And I like that they're focusing on Homelander's mortality. Like he's
collecting his gray pubic hairs. Ew.
I didn't say he was doing it well. I just said that he's dealing with
all have our coping mechanisms. But yeah, it lets you know that he is not completely invulnerable. He's not immortal.
Right.
Is the thing. And he is having to deal with that reality. So
as much as he says he's superior to humans, he's still gonna die like everybody else. And that's the thing, that why he's freaking out about his son. He wants his son to be his clone, and his son is uninterested, like not even a little bit.
Although his son gets frustrated when he shows up at his solo.
I think it's not frustrated, angry. I think he's really just surprised, and he's not thinking. And when he pushes that guy, he's not pushing him out of anger. He's really just thrown. He's like thrown that his dad is there, and he's just reacting, and he's not paying attention to what he's doing, and he just pushes him, and he's like, holy crap. So he did not mean to do that.
He doesn't know his own strength, and he reacts to that in a way that is very different from his father. I mean, he has a moral core.
Right. He was raised
And
by a good mom versus
that's right.
Homelander, who was raised in a lab.
Yeah. So I mean, his father is a psychopath. He is not.
Right.
And
Would you say psychopath or sociopath?
He's a
I would say full
sociopath.
on psychopath.
No,
I'd
but
I would say
he's-
full on. He murders people and he doesn't care. And he's
no, but he's
very
also
open
so
about
I think
that.
he's both because he genuinely doesn't feel human emotions. I think there's certain
Yeah, but that's true for psychopaths as well. I mean, really, clinically, they're both the same thing. I know other people tend to think psychopath is where you take it a step further and actually start killing people, but it's the same disorder. It's the same neurological failure to be able to empathize with other people. To a psychopath and a sociopath, other people are just things. They're just props
and
in their
he
own
literally
personal
says
play.
it. He says
Yeah.
He's trying to teach it to Ryan.
Yeah,
And then Sister Sage tells freaking Fish Boy, why can't I think Deep, basically, why do you let her actually talk to you like that?
I think
Well, she's manipulating.
she's manipulating him. I don't think that's really her philosophy necessarily. She's trying to sow discord in the group.
Well, she
And
definitely
so that
is
was
good.
all that was about. That was just about sowing discord.
Yeah, she is purely Machiavellian in her.
But how about A Train showing a little bit of class by giving Starlight and Huey the proof to get the Starlighters
Those guys off. Right,
Yeah.
right,
for the murders they didn't commit.
right.
Yeah, I liked seeing another side to A Train because they've really gone so hard on the sociopathic nature of his
played with
personality.
him a bit. So like in season 2, he was kind of on a redemption arc, and then they were like, oh, never mind.
Mhm.
And so now they're kind of back because the thing is, he's always shown that he has a line that he doesn't want to cross. And when he murdered Huey's girlfriend at the very beginning, he was high, he was on drugs, he wasn't.
Yeah, it was an accident. It wasn't
It was an
deliberate.
accident. And he's never really deliberately tried to hurt somebody before. And they're showing that he does have a lot. Like there is a place where he doesn't want to go. It's not that he's a morally good person, because he's not. That's not
he's
it
not.
at all. But
How about the new Black Noir not realizing? Shut the blank up, dude.
yeah, well, because I was like, how did Black Noir? I was like, how did he survive his injuries? Oh, he didn't.
Didn't.
It's a new guy.
Actor pretending to be him, which is so funny because the dude was like, I don't think I'm getting the proper set directions. I feel like no one's
What's my
communicating with me."
motivation?
Yeah, he's so
Your motivation is shutting up.
and then he was like, do we kill people all the time? Is that a thing that we do?
How about the Will Ferrell cameo?
Oh, that was great. That was great because when it starts off, I was like, man, this feels more racist than normal. Like I was like, what's going on with this? And then when Will Ferrell showed up, I was like, oh, it's a movie. Like I was and then he was like, I didn't want to give too many blindside feels. I was like, dude, that was 100% blindside.
I love Deep and the Octopus.
Oh,
And you know who's doing the voice of that? That's Tilda Swinton.
Oh,
I want them to go have their happy ending. They should go in the ocean and live together. It would be sweet. And then you wouldn't have to worry about all the craziness. Yeah. So I liked The Boys. I thought the episodes were good. And like you said, and then TruthCon was crazy. Like, oh my God, all of that was insane. So I do feel like it's very much ripped from the headlines that they're doing.
Yep. They're going heavy into politics.
But just the fact that they shot this a while back.
Yeah.
And it's like, it feels like it could have been shot yesterday.
Yeah. He's doing a good job. So thumbs up for me. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk about Bridgerton. And because, again, my fault, we're behind on Bridgerton. So instead of talking about the new block that literally just dropped, we're behind 2 episodes. So we're going to talk about episode 3 and 4. And when I say we, I mean not me, because I am not really feeling the whole romantic period.
Heaving bosoms.
You're not into bedpost and buttocks.
Every time I try to hit play on it, I'm just like, I can't do it. So, I mean, maybe I'll be in the mood later. I'm just not in the mood for it right now. So you guys go forth, talk about it. You got about 5 minutes, maybe 10, but then we got to move on. We got one more show to talk about after this.
I'm digging. I mean, I devoured both halves of season 3. So basically, in one afternoon, evening, I watched each block of 4 episodes. Episode 3, Penelope has, even though Penelope's been pining for Colin, there's a new guy, prospective suitor who she catches the eye of, and he's a vegetarian and an animal rights activist, which for back then, everybody's like, oh, ooh, he's just like this. But he's into her. She's sort of kind of into him, even though he's not Colin. And I kind of feel sorry for the dude because, he seems like a really decent guy, except for what's eventually going to doom that possibility is he's planning to go off on these nature conservation trips for long stretches at a time, which that's not what she wants for in a mate. So,
Yeah.
And there's a whole incident with the balloon, and Colin gets to be the hero, and Bridgerton, Shonda knows what female audiences want. Hot guys, great costumes, some, very good, well, tasteful sex scenes. It's not a surprise this is a monster hit. And evidently, it pumped $250 million into the EU economy this season.
Wow.
Really? Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry, not dollars, euros into the European economy.
Well, okay.
So,
That's more.
That's even more.
Bridgerton saves the EU, but I love it, and I really like. I'm blanking the actor who plays Penelope, Nicola Coughlan. I've always thought she was one of the more interesting female characters, and I must not have been alone because they put her front and center for. They switched the order of the books they were adapting. This is book 4 instead of 3 to put the Colin Penelope romance front and center. But I just like she feels kind of like a Jane Austen heroine, and I'm a sucker for Jane Austen, pretty much everything.
Well, I think part of the reason that they moved this up is because it is one of their more interesting stories and the thing that people are most invested in. After all, Penelope is the one who does Lady Whistledown. And that whole, the whole mystery around that everybody's wondering who she is and all of that. So I think, there's more investment in her character, which is why they brought it up. But it is, I'm loving this season. I really am. I think they really got into what makes this show fun to watch, which is, these characters getting together and pining for each other and the sexual tension and all the rest and the gorgeous costumes and everything else. I think, this is just firing on all cylinders. Last season, it was really just boring. I'm sorry, I didn't care about anybody. But this, every time they start going into Penelope and Colin, I'm there. They also have talk about the relationship between the younger sister who was away at school and who plays the piano, and she's been singled out by the queen.
Francesca?
Yeah. And they get into her relationship, and I think she's boring as hell. And I start to, it's like every time she's on, it's like, oh, my opportunity to make a sandwich or rest my eyes, but when they start getting into Penelope and Colin, it's like, yes, I'm there. Because all of that is great.
Yeah, I'm not expecting much from Bridgerton. It's like, as I'm watching it, it certainly isn't as good as Jane Austen, but
Oh no.
but it has no real it's not social commentary, and it's not, there's not a lot going on except a romance. It's really like a big fat romance novel, and it's fun to watch it. The costumes aren't even, at this point remotely accurate. The fabrics that they're using, I mean, there's like gold and green lame, and there's like, sequins, and there's like,
sparkle metallics and things like that. It's
yeah,
because it really bothered me in the first season. It's like, what are they doing? And I've let go of that completely. And it's
yes,
like, yeah, that looks,
Oh,
that looks like something from Doctor Who, but I'm totally on board with that. That's great.
yes, yes. So I'm having fun with the costumes this season, where I'm just kind of like admiring them for their, the needlework and the handiwork, and and the number of feathers they're using, and and even the hats that the fascinators that they're using, making with the hair, the wigs, all of it. Like it's a feast for the eyes. It's just a fun, light, fluffy show. There's nothing too compelling about it, but the kind of whistle down aspect of it, there has to be some sort of not have to be, but a mystery aspect makes it a little bit more interesting than just a romance. And there has to be boy finds girl loses boy, kind of whatever. There has to be some sort of a problem that kind of comes up and stuff. So I'm just watching it as a light, it's very fan fiction-y. It's very much give the woman everything that you want, and so it's very light fare. I mean, very light fare. I recommend it as a show that you put your mind on a shelf and you just sit and you watch and you smile and you just watch your main characters kind of dance around each other, literally and figuratively. Yeah,
It's
so
cotton candy for the brain.
yeah.
Basically. It is, but it's loads of fun. It really is.
Okay. Speaking of which, I'm going to use this to transition to our next show, which is Doctor Who, which had its Bridgerton episode, which I
Yes.
thought was really timely and was actually fantastic. And somebody was like, "If you like this, why didn't you watch Bridgerton?" I was like, "Did it have monsters eating people?" I mean, this show,
they desiccated them.
yes, I'm just like skin changing and shapeshifters. Did Bridgerton have that? And lightning? I was like, if you don't have any aliens, no spaceships, no bounty hunters, it's not quite the same. So for me, what I really liked about this episode of Doctor Who, which might have been my favorite, was just the banter between the Doctor and the bounty hunter Rogue,
played by
which I'm putting his name.
Tony nominee Jonathan Groff.
Yeah, he was fantastic, and I loved just all their interactions and how they just were just bouncing off each other, and the chemistry between the two characters. I really, really liked it. And then they had the dances that were and they kept name dropping Bridgerton, which I thought was really funny.
That was funny.
They just did it once, I think.
No, they did it a few
they
times.
mentioned it more than once.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I know
So
that.
I
know that Ruby said, "Oh my Bridgerton,"
yes.
when she saw the dance.
And then they talked about cosplay, and they did all of that, and it was.
And they also did it with the music too, with the
I thought
Bridgerton-like takes on things like Poker Face and
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was really cool. And they had them all dancing, and they had fights, they had the whole thing, and it was just a sweet, fun episode for me.
Aside from the aliens killing people.
Okay, sure.
And taking their.
That was that. There were a lot of murders that happened, but I really just liked the Doctor's banter, and I liked Ruby watching a relationship, like she's trying to watch between the bookshelves, like she's watching television, and then of course she knocks all the books and almost knocks herself unconscious. And I like the twist of the character that she thought that the person that she thought was now her new friend ended up being one of the aliens, and all of that. I thought it was just a fun episode, so I had a good time with that one.
Co-written by Kate Herron, who was one of the Loki directors for season 1.
Oh, so thoughts of this episode other than me? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought. Oh, go ahead, Allison.
Well, I just had a completely different take on this episode. I was the opposite. I was really looking forward to this episode because I do love Bridgerton, and I'm a sucker for anything that's historical, and Regency period especially. I love. And and Jonathan Groff, I'm a huge fan of. So it was like everything that I should love in an episode. I was like sitting there waiting for it, and I was unimpressed. I was. It just seemed like they said, let's do a Bridgerton episode.
I'm sure
Now,
that's
what is it
exactly
going to
what
be
they said.
about? But that's the thing. They said, let's do this. Okay, what is it going to be about? We'll get to it.
Aliens.
You know, it's the aliens and I don't know, maybe shapeshift, something about birds and cosplay. We'll do it when we do it. And it just felt badly thought out. I wasn't interested in the characters. I wasn't interested in the story. I normally love Jonathan Groff, but he felt like it felt like he was doing a read through, like he'd just been handed the script and hadn't really gotten his character yet. There was no chemistry at all between him and Shooty.
Totally disagree on that.
And I mean, it was like all the things that ought to work, and it just didn't for me. It just felt really, really amateurish and bland and half thought out. And I wasn't into any of it. And of course, Shooty cried again because that's what he does.
However,
Miss
in this particular case, I felt like this was the one time,
No, it wasn't.
where I was like, okay, tears kind of make sense. Every other time, I was like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, it not even here. It's sorry. It's because, and partly it's because it's become such a thing. It's like
It
all he
has.
knows how to do with his character.
I'm not
Um,
disagreeing, but I got a
so
little teary-eyed in that part. So I kind of was like, all right, I'll let this one pass. But Allison, I'm not Allison, Yusa and Tom, what do you guys think?
I enjoyed it. I liked it. I thought it was fun. I like, they knew they were in on the joke. I mean, they kept mentioning Bridgerton, a lot. And the fact that I like the concept of aliens cosplaying, like taking, like, what was their motivation? They wanted to like play different
You wanted
characters.
to
And
play
so
the
that's,
fun character, right?
yeah. And that's why they wanted to like take over their lives and be so like that kind of made sense to me. Like, shapeshifters and body snatchers, we've seen that for years. But like to actually explain it off as like bored aliens who are cosplaying and trying to like, it pure entertainment, like that's not a something that I've run across as far as body snatching aliens has been, before. So, and it makes sense that they would be doing this in this Bridgerton kind of style with the clothing and the drama and like, oh, this sounds like this is going to be really interesting. Like there's going to be scandal and stuff. So like it all kind of made sense in the world that they created. So I thought it was fun. I mean, Bridgerton itself is a light kind of a thing. And so they took a light show or a light kind of a thing and they made fun of it and they kind of went with it and it was just light and sweet and I thought that the I don't know if the chemistry between the two of them was like super strong, but I did love the twist and I liked, that I mean it seemed a little rushed. I will say that. I do
very
seem like I
rushed.
feel like yeah, it seemed like it was a little bit rushed for sure. But I like the twist at the end where he replaces Ruby. I was not expecting that, so I thought that was really good. And yes, I'm down the middle with the whole tears thing. I mean, if there is a time to cry, that would be it. But like he doesn't need to cry, so like,
Every
that
episode, I agree.
yeah, every episode. So it's less powerful, so it doesn't really, matter to me at that point. Tom, you were going to say something?
Yeah, the problem with the tears, and as soon as Ruby got stuck, I'm like, oh, he's gonna cry, and then I'm Allison's gonna be right again. Not that that's a problem.
God,
but
not that.
here's the
Anything but
problem.
that.
If he cries at everything, then he'll cry at anything.
Yeah, and then it has
therefore
no impact.
It
loses
ceases
its
to have
impact.
any meaning whatsoever.
Right.
It loses its impact. So I thought it was, part of me was like, why not just bring Captain Jack? But Captain and Jack and the Doctor don't have that's not the extent of their relationship. So I understand why they had to bring a new character in. I thought it was too forced, and to go from, we don't know who each other are to you're obviously the bad guy to, oh, I'm in love with you. It felt a little.
I don't think they were
rough.
saying they were in love with each other. I think they were doing that to basically cause a scandal and that was the scandal of it.
No, but there was supposed to be a genuine bond between them.
was.
Yeah.
There
Like,
was a
like
genuine
if he
bond.
hadn't done that, he would have gone off with the doctor to be his new companion. And I think that there was supposed to be real chemistry between them.
There was real chemistry. I did see.
I didn't
I'm just saying
feel
it's
it.
not love. I'm just saying I didn't think they went from enemies to being in love in 5 minutes. But
And also, I think that there was a weird thing they did at the end when, you know, he sacrifices himself, and the last thing he says is
Find me.
Come find
and then
me.
we get to the end, and the doctor really doesn't seem like he's inclined to go looking.
Yes.
And it's
That
like,
I
well, you
thought
got
was
over that
weird.
relationship fast.
Well, when you
Yes.
get your life out of order, you know, whatever.
well, he
I don't know.
basically
It's
was
just
like,
it's not.
and
It
I'm
was not
sure,
the
I'm
right
sure,
way you end that.
I'm sure we're gonna see that character again. He just basically was like, we don't know. I don't know what dimension he's in, and there are a million dimensions. So how would I even start? But you're right. He didn't seem like he was even gonna start looking, which kind of was like, dude, all right.
He just got way too happy at the end. There should have
Yeah.
been a
But it
haunting
was a
kind of
fake
thing,
happy,
and it
and
wasn't there.
we saw that it was a fake. It was fake. So I was okay with that. But anyway, we need to move on. We've been talking for quite too long. But Tom, unless you have one more thing you want to say. Oh wait,
We have a second episode to
Oh,
talk
I
about.
just remembered that. I was like, oh, we have one more episode.
There's two.
So the other episode is part 1 of 2 of, I think this is called the something of Ruby Sunday, the
Legend of Ruby Sunday.
Legend of Ruby Sunday.
right? And I don't even know what to think about this particular episode because it was
I
like,
didn't even understand it.
well, and that's the thing is I feel like I can't judge this episode without part 2 because they basically, the beginning of the episode started cool, but then they introduced this villain that we're supposed to kind of have known before.
It's not an introduction. It's a Fourth Doctor villain.
Yeah, if you were into classic Who, I mean, Tom Baker is my doctor. So I knew
At
exactly.
First Doctor.
And well, actually, I sort of saw Peter, John Pertwee rather, beforehand, but Tom Baker was my doctor. That was the one who I saw in real time, and so I know that particular episode that villain comes from, Pyramids of Mars, which it was one of my favorite episodes. I thought that was, I think it was a 4-party. It was a great episode. But I just burst out laughing when they said Sutek because, I mean, he was dispatched that fast by Tom Baker. He was a one-off villain, and he spent 99% of his screen time stuck to a chair. So he wasn't super frightening, you know. And to bring him back now as like the ultimate bad guy, the god of all gods, is just it's a little over much. I just
for me,
couldn't take
I
it
have
seriously.
no idea who he is. So
I'm just glad it wasn't the Master or
That's
the
true.
Daleks.
That's
or
also
the
true.
Cybermen,
That's also true.
because they
So-
have gone to those wells
Too many
far.
times.
Way too often.
But the thing, even more so than your tears, my thing is the doctor's always scared. Like every episode,
Too scared.
every episode we've seen this season, he's been scared. So
That's a writing and a direction problem.
that
Yes.
is
Yeah.
because if they had saved it for this episode and then he's scared, then I would have been scared. But because he's been scared every episode this season, I'm like, is he scary? Should I be scared? Like I don't know. And so that was the thing about this episode. I feel like I can't judge it properly because I don't have part 2. It's part 1 of 2 parts. I don't have part 2. I'm confused about who this guy is, what's going on. They were leading us to believe that this woman, Susan, was going to be his granddaughter, which I thought was going to be cool. And then they're like, psych, you thought I was going to be related to you, but I'm not, you know? And I was just like, okay.
I thought it was, yeah.
That was weird. I was like, why would you set that up and then not do anything with it? Like
Well,
that
the whole episode felt like that. It felt like they had like 3 different plot lines going on, and they just smushed them together. And like, you know, whatever they did, it's like roll it up in a ball and shoot it all now. And
Well,
none of it came together. None of it made
the
sense.
conflict of something was going on with his TARDIS, which normally he would have run immediately to try to fix. But then they were like, oh, but now his granddaughter at the same time, what is he going to do? And
And then there's Ruby Sunday. What's going on with her mother
well,
and the
and
whole
then they're
thing with
trying
the
to say all
snow
of
and
that's connected, and I was like, I don't understand. So
I mean, they may bring it together in the second part, but in the first part, it's just
going
confusion.
to judge anything at this point because I don't know where this is going. I genuinely do not understand what's happening. So
Are they prepping a unit spinoff?
not that I've heard.
They've talked about that in the past, but I don't know that they've talked about it more
haven't heard about
recently.
It seems like we got a lot of introductions to a lot of characters as if we might be doing this in the future.
Yeah.
They've talked about it before, but nothing's ever really come of it.
I haven't heard anything either.
But now they got that Disney money.
But yeah, I don't even know really what to say about the second episode because I don't know where it's going, what's happening. So I'd like to maybe let's shelve that and we discuss it together when we get part 2. How about that?
That's fair.
Okay.
All right. So if you guys have any questions or comments, you can leave them at tvcampfire@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter or on Facebook. You listen to us on fixpointradio.com, 6 Degrees of Geeks, iTunes, and now YouTube. And we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.